Okay, so the first question is, what is your name?
Adrianna. Am I supposed to look at the camera? Okay.
Okay. What is it you do?
I am a CNA at the hospital. I've been doing this for 10 years.
Oh, you're jumping ahead. Hold on. Do you like your job?
Yes, I actually love what I do.
What school did you go to?
High school or
For your career?
for my career, I went to Renee's Business School on Western.
What made you get into this career?
In high school, I went to a vocational high school, and my vocation was medical assistance, but they wouldn't allow us to graduate without medical assistance, so they offered I believe it was CNA, pharmacy, and phlebotomy, and I chose CNA. And I always knew I wanted to be in the medical field because when I was younger, my grandmother passed away, and she had amazing caregivers, and I always knew that was something I wanted to pay forward.
That's nice. What's the pros and cons about this field?
I would say the turnover rate for like people working in the field, like a lot of people get in this field and they think about the money, and it's really not a job. Like as soon as I became a CNA, I wasn't making like a lot of money.
Right.
So it's just like a job, you gotta wait it out, and a lot of people want to think that they gonna get in this field and they gonna instantly start making money. Like it took years for me to like
Make money.
Yes.
So what did you start off with making, if you don't mind me asking?
I think I started off with like making like, but granted back then when I was younger, I thought I was making a lot of money.
Right.
So I think I was making like 13, 14.
Right. And this was what, 2016?
So I got my license in 2015, but I didn't start working until 2018.
Okay, so this was 2018.
Yeah, 2018.
What is the craziest thing you experienced so far in your career?
Crazy as far as like patient-wise.
Yeah.
I think the craziest thing would be like going to codes, like running into codes, like, or like having to do post-mortem care, like after somebody died. Because you know sometimes when people die, like they still be moving.
Yeah.
And breathing and stuff.
Yeah. And bowel movements too, right?
Yeah, sometimes, yeah.
What school you say you went to again?
Renee's Business School.
How long was the program?
I took it when I was in high school, so I couldn't go Monday through Friday, so I could only go on weekends. So it took me 2 months.
Okay, that's not bad too.
Nah.
Rate your school.
That was so long ago. I would say like it was a 10 out of 10, but I've never went to another school, so I can't really compare it to nothing else.
Okay. Give studying tips for anybody studying to be a CNA.
I would just basically feel like if you don't got common sense, don't go to become a CNA, because I really honestly feel like it's like literally common sense. Like, and if you don't have personality, like I could teach you the job, but it's a job where you have to have personality. You cannot teach personality. So if you don't have a personality, then don't go to be a CNA, don't go to be a nurse, nothing like that in the medical field, because you have to have personality. Like y'all got to think about these people in the hospital fighting for their life. Like you can't go into this job like with what you was dealing with yesterday. Like you gotta leave that stuff at home, because these people dealing with real life stuff, like this life or death, and your patients feed off your energy.
That's true. What was the hardest thing about school?
Balancing high school and this school.
Okay, what's the hardest thing about your career?
Getting attached to the patients.
Do you get attached easily?
I do. I love my patients, all of them.
Do you cry with them?
Well, I don't cry with them, but when I leave out the room, I cry.
Any tips you can give the audience about who you are going to interview with? Like basically, I said that wrong, but when you're going to interview, any tips you would give them? Like what should they say, what they should not say?
That's really, I feel like that's kind of like, no, I wouldn't say that's common sense, but that's just personal. Like I feel like going there being yourself, but be a professional version of yourself. Like don't go in there trying to fake who you are, because a job gonna want you for who you are regardless of like what you like. Don't go in there faking it to make it, because you're gonna get in that field and then you're gonna be like, oh, I don't know nothing. So if you don't have the qualities or like don't go in there lying. I just feel like be yourself, but be professional at the same time.
Makes sense.
And also it's good to like look up like people doing mock interviews to see like how they answer, or like read up on how people like answer certain questions.
That's true.
You know, now TikTok and YouTube and all that stuff, back when I first started getting jobs, we didn't have all that stuff. So I was just basically going off based off like, cause you know we have Miss Kimbrough, and she would tell us like, help us out with how to answer questions and stuff. But now that we have, now that we have TikTok and stuff, yep. And always, one of my professors taught me this in college, always send a thank you letter after you get done doing the interview. My current job that I'm at right now, I almost didn't get this job because they couldn't get in touch with me. They only got in touch with me to offer me the job because I sent them a thank you email. Yep.
That was good. That was real good. That was a good tip.
Yep.
What is something that you learned on the job that you didn't learn in school?
I feel like how to interact with the patients. They teach you like the skills, but they don't teach you like how to interact with the patients. Like that also goes with having personality too. Like you gotta, every interaction with each patient is gonna be different, and you gotta know how to interact with certain patients. They don't teach that in school.
Do you feel your presence make a difference? If so, why?
For sure, I do think my presence makes a difference. I feel like I have a welcoming spirit. Like I'm always smiling, and I'm always like asking my patients. Like I feel like I have a kind tone, and that like opens up the door for a lot of my patients. Like a lot of my patients tell me like because I work on the oncology floor, and if y'all don't know what that is, most of my patients have cancer, and they're like, a lot of them are at end of life, and they can't do a lot of things that they normally do for themselves. And a lot of my patients tell me that I don't make them feel like a burden. So that's why I feel that my presence does make a difference. I tell my job all the time, if I wasn't on this unit, y'all will fall apart.
How you not take that home? That's so sad.
I mean, but that's what you like, that's what I'm learning. Like I'm learning how to like not separate so much, but learning that balance, work-life balance, like having a life outside of work. It helps, but it is hard, and it's sad, especially seeing people my age and they're fighting for their life. And it's just like, you're supposed to be out here living your life. You're not supposed to be in here fighting for them. But that also comes with praying. I pray for my patients.
That's good. They blessed to have me. They lucky to have me.
Yeah, I pray for my patients a lot because it's very hard. Like that's very hard.
Oh, I can just imagine. Have you ever been racially profiled?
I'm pretty sure I have, but I just didn't pay it no mind because at the end of the day, I'm here to do a job, and that's to take care of you. And at the end of the day, I feel like we all serve one person, and that's God. And He ain't looking at you no different than me, because at the end of the day, you in here fighting the same disease that a black person fighting. So what's the difference?
That's true. A lot of people need to think like you. How does it feel to be a strong black woman in your position?
Amazing. I wouldn't wish to be nobody else.
Period. Okay.
No other color, no other race. Okay.
Do you feel like you have to be strong every day in your position, in your field of work?
I do. Because the moment you show weakness, the moment they'll let you go.
What do you feel makes you strong?
Knowing that they'll let somebody come take my position. Knowing that they can come replace me. And knowing who I am as a person. Knowing what I bring to the table. Knowing the value that I bring to my floor. To my patients, knowing that I'm valued.
Sure. If it's one thing you could change about your career, what would it be and why?
The appreciation they have for CNAs. I feel like a lot of people don't appreciate CNAs. A lot of nurses. And I feel like that comes with like you know, this week is Nurses Week, and it's been this thing on Facebook where they was like, nurses was like, Happy Nurses Week, but not to you CNAs. But it's like, I get it, this y'all week, but to say a comment like that, it's just like nurses think they above CNAs, when in reality,
y'all do the same thing.
You could do my job, I can't do yours. So it's just like, don't. But and it's also just like, me being there makes your job easier. If you didn't have no CNA, your job would be way more harder than what it is. And I feel like a lot of nurses need to learn that. They need to go work on the floor where they don't have no CNAs. And then they'll really appreciate the presence of their CNAs. I also feel like nursing schools need to bring back mandatory, like nurses need to be mandatory to work as a CNA, medical assistant, dialysis tech, some type of medical background, because a lot of nurses get in these fields and they think they're gonna go either to labor delivery, pediatrics, or aesthetics, and that's not, them 3 fields are hard to get into, and that's not normally the case. Like I said the other day, I'm like, a lot of the times y'all end up in long-term care, ICU, or specialties that y'all don't want to be in because y'all thought y'all was gonna get into the different field, when y'all in reality y'all need to work as a CNA first to make sure this is something you really want to do, because you end up hating your job. And when you hate your job, what results do you think you're gonna get?
True. And I feel like a lot of people get in the field just for the money and not because
they actually care about their patients.
Yep. What 5 tips would you give someone working towards being a healthcare worker?
As I said, my one and only tip is to make sure that this is something you really want to do, because there are days where you just really, like, the money ain't worth it. Like, there are days when you go in and all your patients just like are mean, cranky, and they just taking all their anger out on you, and it's just like you gonna be like, oh, this money ain't worth it, so I'm finna quit. But if you really in it because this is actually something you want to do and you really care for people, then the money, you ain't gonna look at it. You ain't gonna look at it about the money. You gonna come back the next day with that same smile on your face, ready to take care of your patients.
Yeah, people do get in this field for the wrong thing.
For the wrong thing. And I hate right now that it's a aesthetic. Like, people get in it because it's cutesy, demure, and that's like the thing. But this is really like something I really want to do. Like, I don't only plan on like going back to be a nurse. I plan on going back to be a nurse practitioner, and I ultimately want to open up my own facility.
Period. And you will. I'm gonna hold you to that. How's your mental health?
My mental health right now is really good. Like, I really don't have much to complain about. Like, my biggest thing last year was like, I feel like I was staying stagnant because, like, as I said, I've been doing it for a long time, and it's just like, okay, so how much longer do you plan on doing it before you actually go back to school and do something else? And now that I'm back in school, and school is really going great. You know, I work 2 jobs and I'm in school. A lot of people, when I first started school, a lot of people was like, oh, you're not gonna be able to work 2 jobs and go to nursing school. Mind you, I work 1 full-time, 1 part-time, and I'm in school full-time. And my GPA right now is a 3.8.
Period.
Clock that, okay?
So, what school do you go to for nursing?
Chamberlain.
So, how do you like it? Rate that school so far?
So far, I don't know about nobody else, but my experience has been a 10 out of 10. Like, my first session was really, like, it was a little rocky, and I was like, one of my tests I did like really bad on. Like, in A&P we took 3 exams. My second exam I didn't do too good on it, but I knew like where I lacked in that exam, so I just did better the next exam. I feel like Chamberlain, it's easy to fail. I feel like it's easy to fail, but it's not, I wouldn't say it's not impossible to pass, because they give you a lot of resources. Like, we have study guides, they have tutoring sessions, they have like different PowerPoints, like they have access to different type of books, and then now TikTok and YouTube now too. You can look up, like what I did when I was for my exams. Like, I would like scroll on, I would look up the subject that I was searching, that we was on TikTok, and I see what they were talking about, and that helped me a lot. And I would write like things they said on my study guide.
When do you graduate?
September of 2027.
Period. That's close. Real close.
Yes.
What's next? So you're gonna go straight into being what you say, nurse practitioner, or you gonna wait?
So, you know, with nurse practitioner, they require you to work a year.
Okay.
So I'm gonna work for like a year or 2, and then I'm gonna go back and get my master's in nurse practitioner.
Period.
I may do my doctorate, but for right now we're gonna say master's.
So you're getting your bachelor's right now?
Yep.
In science?
Yep, bachelor's of science in nursing.
Okay, cool.
And there are a lot of resources out there. I know a lot of people want to go to Chamberlain, but it's too expensive. My job paying 100%.
Period.
I don't gotta pay nothing.
I know that's right. free tuition reimbursement is always a plus.
Okay. That's what I tell people all the time. Y'all gotta look for these resources. There's so many resources out there that'll help y'all. Y'all just gotta look for them. People, it's easier to get help when you're trying, but if you're not trying, it's hard to get help.
Yeah, that's it. That's all.
That's it. Okay, period.
You grab it. I'm gonna